What if I told you that the most disgraced man in professional wrestling history, a man who was forced to resign in shame, a man whose name WWE literally scrubbed from their programming, a man who is currently facing a federal lawsuit that reads like a Hollywood crime thriller, is quietly, methodically, and dangerously working his way back to reclaim the very empire he was kicked out of? No, stop. Don't scroll away, because what I'm about to tell you today is not a rumor. This is not clickbait. This is not fantasy booking. This is the story that the mainstream wrestling media is tiptoeing around, and WrestleScope is about to walk straight through it. This is WrestleScope, and today we are pulling back every single curtain on the most jaw-dropping power move in professional wrestling history. Because if Vince McMahon actually pulls this off, the WWE you love today, the Triple H creative era, the good booking, the NXT pipeline, all of it could be gone just like that. Stay locked in, because this one is going to make your blood boil. Let's rewind quickly, because context is everything. In January of 2024, Vince McMahon was signed from TKO Group Holdings, the parent company of WWE, after a bombshell lawsuit filed by former WWE employee Janelle Grant accused him of horrific sexual abuse and sex trafficking. The allegations were catastrophic. Vince didn't just step back quietly, he was ejected. His name was removed from WWE's opening signature. His legacy, seemingly, was being erased in real time. And the wrestling world exhaled. Triple H was already running creative. WWE's product had genuinely improved. Raw landed a massive Netflix deal. WrestleMania was selling out stadiums. The transition felt complete. Vince was gone. The king was dead. Long live the king. Except, nobody told Vince McMahon that the story was over. Here's what most people are glossing over, and this is where it gets deeply interesting. Vince McMahon, even after his resignation, did not liquidate all of his financial stake immediately. He still walked away from the TKO merger with a position worth hundreds of millions of dollars in stock and compensation packages. The man is not broke. The man is not powerless. And if you think Vince McMahon, the same man who once bought WCW out of pure spite, is just sitting in a mansion somewhere watching SmackDown on a Friday night with no agenda, you do not know Vince McMahon. Now here's the part that nobody is talking about loudly enough, and I want you to really hear this. Vince McMahon doesn't need to walk back into WWE headquarters with a briefcase and announce a hostile takeover. That's not how this works at the level he operates. What Vince is reportedly doing, and what multiple sources in the wrestling business have alluded to, is far more surgical than that. It starts with money. Vince still has it, enormous amounts of it. And in the world of publicly traded media companies, money means influence. TKO Group Holdings, the entity that owns WWE alongside UFC, is a publicly traded company. That means shares can be acquired, quietly, through intermediaries, through investment vehicles that don't have Vincent Kennedy McMahon printed on the front. Think about it. If Vince, or people operating on his behalf, began quietly acquiring TKO stock on the open market, at what point does that position become meaningful? At what point does that become leverage? At what point does a board of directors have to start taking phone calls they'd rather not take? We've seen this playbook before in corporate America. You don't need a majority stake to become a disruptive force. You just need enough. Enough to be heard. Enough to be a problem. Enough to make a deal look attractive. And here's the twist that I haven't heard a single wrestling outlet say out loud. What if the goal isn't even to run WWE again? What if the goal is simply to make himself too expensive to ignore? To force TKO to either buy him out at a premium, restore certain contractual privileges, or, and this is the wildest scenario, negotiate some form of behind-the-scenes consulting arrangement that keeps him connected to the product without ever appearing on camera. Vince McMahon building invisible leverage inside a company he's been publicly humiliated by, that is the most Vince McMahon thing imaginable, and I think that's exactly what's happening. Let's talk about what's actually at stake here, because this is where I need you to get angry. This is where I need you to care. Triple H has done something genuinely remarkable with WWE's creative direction since taking over. The product has logic, storylines have continuity, championships mean something again, legends are being used properly, new stars are being built, CM Punk came back, Cody Rhodes finished his story, Sami Zayn became a main event guy, Gunther became a generational heel, the women's division is getting real match time. This is a WWE that feels like it's being run by someone who loves professional wrestling. Now imagine Vince McMahon's fingerprints getting back on any of that. Remember, this is the man who reportedly wanted to turn Vince himself into a babyface following his own real-life scandal. This is the man who buried talent for sport, who kept people in catering for years out of personal grudges, who once had a segment where he simulated sexual acts with a female employee on live television and called it entertainment,
who reportedly walked into meetings and undid months of creative planning on a whim because he had watched a movie the night before and wanted to copy it. The Triple H era isn't just better television, it's a healthier workplace, and the idea that Vince McMahon could claw his way back into any position of influence in any capacity should terrify every single person who watches this product. Now, and I want to be fair here, there is a significant legal wall standing between Vince and any real return to power. The federal investigation surrounding the allegations in the Janelle Grant lawsuit is not a minor thing. The DOJ and FBI were reportedly involved in looking at potential criminal conduct. If any of those investigations result in charges, and that remains an if, then we're talking about a situation that makes any corporate comeback legally impossible and reputationally catastrophic beyond repair. But here's the cold truth about the American legal system when enormous amounts of money are involved. Cases settle. Charges don't always materialize. Civil suits get resolved quietly with non-disclosure agreements and financial payments, and somehow, someway, powerful men with powerful lawyers have a mysterious tendency to remain powerful. I'm not saying justice won't be served. I'm saying Vince McMahon has been underestimated and written off before, and he has a track record of surviving situations that would end most people's careers permanently. The steroid trial in 1994, he was acquitted. The XFL failure, he relaunched it. Competition from WCW, ECW, TNA, AEW, he outlasted all of them during his run. This man has more lives than anyone in the history of the entertainment industry. And that's precisely why we cannot afford to dismiss this story. Here's my unique take, the thing that makes WrestleScope different from everyone else covering this story. I don't think Vince McMahon wants to run WWE in. Not publicly, not on camera, not in press releases. That ship has sailed and he knows it. But I absolutely believe Vince McMahon wants to own the outcome of what WWE becomes.
There's a concept in the business world called a shadow director. Someone who isn't officially listed in a leadership role, but whose instructions the actual board and executives routinely follow. It's a real legal concept, actually, and courts have prosecuted people for acting as one without disclosure. What if that is Vince's endgame? Not a crown, not a throne, but a phone call. The kind of phone call where whoever is running TKO knows that one billionaire with an axe to grind and a mountain of stock can make their quarterly earnings call a nightmare. And so they ask, quietly, what do you want? What does Vince want? Control, legacy protection, perhaps most importantly, the narrative, the ability to shape how he's remembered when all of this is over. Because right now, the story of Vince McMahon ends in disgrace. And every single day that Triple H's WWE succeeds without him is another chapter in that painful ending. Vince McMahon would burn $1 billion to change that last chapter. I genuinely believe that. So what does this mean for us, the fans? It means we cannot be passive. The reason Triple H has creative freedom right now is because WWE's business metrics are strong. Raw on Netflix is performing, WrestleMania sells out, merchandise is moving. The investors are happy. And when investors are happy, they leave the creative people alone. The single most powerful thing that WWE Universe can do to protect the product we love right now is to stay loud, stay engaged, and keep making this era of WWE undeniably successful. Because the moment ratings dip, the moment a WrestleMania underperforms, the moment TKO executives start getting nervous, that's when a phone rings, and Vince McMahon will be on the other end of that line, whispering that he knows exactly how to fix it. Don't give him that opening. Look, we don't know exactly how this story ends. Maybe Vince's legal situation closes every door permanently. Maybe TKO's firewalls hold. Maybe Triple H's era continues untouched for the next decade and we look back at this video and laugh. But maybe not. And the fact that we're even having this conversation, the fact that a man accused of what Vince McMahon is accused of is still considered a credible threat to re-enter the most powerful wrestling company on earth, tells you everything you need to know about how power, money, and legacy operate in the real world. This story is not over. Vince McMahon is not gone, and WrestleScope will be right here, watching every move, covering every angle, and giving you the truth that other channels are too scared to say out loud. If this video made you think, if it made you angry, if it made you want to see justice served and Triple H's era protected, then do me a favor right now. Slam that like button. Not just top it, slam it, because this video deserves to be seen. Drop a comment below. I want to know, do you think Vince McMahon should ever be allowed back in WWE in any capacity? Vote with your comment. Let's get a debate going that the whole wrestling world can see. Subscribe to WrestleScope if you're not already part of the family. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story like this one, because trust me, we are just getting started.
And share this video. Send it to your wrestling friends. Post it in your group chats, because the WWE universe deserves to know what might be coming. This is WrestleScope, and we'll see you in the next one.